Welcome to the Premium Life Podcast with the team from Simplicity UFC. Hosting this podcast is Vince Munno. I'm your producer, RJ Malik. Vince, as always, good to see you. So I'm going to throw it to you so you can tell us what you're going to be talking about on this Premium Life Podcast and introduce your guest. So take it away.
Very good. Well, today I'm excited to introduce you guys to Ciara Lister. She's an attorney at her own firm, Gulf Coast Law. And what we're going to talk about is how you can leverage her and her services for estate planning needs for your clients and how these estate planning opportunities lead to the bigger sales. You know, our company, our average client is probably over $10 million net worth. And how we're getting those clients is by asking them if they've done any estate planning. And you would be surprised how many clients that are in that wealth range, 40 to 60, 10 million or more, that have done nothing. So offering that service and having someone like Ciara in your corner with a turnkey technology program to gather the data, and not just have the turnkey program with the AI to gather data, but also get on a call and do a consultation with the client, is a huge win. I've been doing these big cases for like 30 years, and anytime another attorney gets involved, it could complicate or delay the process. And by taking that part of the equation and putting it in your side, it puts the odds much more in favor of, getting control of the case and moving it along. So with that, I want to welcome Ciara and thank you for coming on today. Ciara, just in your words, why should every financial advisor care about estate planning, them not being an attorney, for their customers?
It is the end part and the full part of planning. I know that just like you had alluded to, it's been really hard in the past for advisors to, I don't want to say trust, but kind of trust attorneys to nurture that relationship the same way, to make sure that their clients are still on the same page, that they're still matching the financial plan. So when you can have an attorney who's going to create that estate plan that matches the financial plan that the clients have put into place during life, it's going to be that, that bow on top of the package. It wraps it all together. It completes that full financial plan because it doesn't stop when your client passes away.
In your opinion, when you deal with these advisors, how much do they really have to know to tee it up for you? Because I've seen it from guys that are really know, and then I've seen it the other side, let the clients know that they know what they're talking about, or to tee you up the best way possible. Any ideas there?
So I always make the joke that you just have to know that if your clients have enough assets that you're talking to them, they need an estate plan. But in all seriousness, it's almost next to nothing. You have to know that, hey, they need to have a plan when they pass away. You should know that a trust is going to keep them out of probate court. It's going to be the cleaner set of documents. But beyond that, you just need to get them to the attorney. The attorney can walk them through what it is. So essentially the basis of, hey, you guys have a plan for while you're alive. You cared enough to plan for your finances now. You're going to need the same thing for your family when you pass. And I think that's about as deep as it really needs to be on the revocable living trust side.
Mm-hmm. So I'm always telling people that, obviously avoid probate. I ask these clients if they've ever been through probate. Typically, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6 people have been through it. What is the average time frame of a probate cases that you've seen, here in Florida or other places that you've worked?
Yeah, best case scenario, summary probate. So you have under $75,000 now it is in the court systems in Florida. That's going to be pretty quick. Even that's 4 to 5 weeks at minimum. And then for a full probate, you're actually going through the probate process. I'd say on average around 3 months. But now I'm in a contested one. We're putting on around 14 months of waiting for probate right now.
But isn't there like a waiting period just to file claims against your state and like the state of Florida or other states before they close all the claims?
Yeah. So to open the case and get the paperwork that you can start the probate, I'd say a few months, but then you're going to have to keep it open, allow creditors to make claims. That's an additional amount of time, 90 days. So there are a lot of other things. It's going to be from the time you notify people to who you have to notify. It's going to change, but I'd say least 3 months to get the case really going, and then you have to wait out your time period. So total case, maybe 6 to 8 months.
And that's probably on a case that's uncontested, that's going fast, right? If there's any problems or people are contesting it, then it could drag on a lot longer. Let me ask you this question: what about if it's like here in Florida? There's a lot of people from all over the country. Their kids and their family members are in different states. What about when the parents don't share with their kids all their assets? Do you get involved with the kids or whoever the executor is to figure out what they even own, to get an inventory of all their assets? And how long could that take?
So hopefully your parents did leave you something, or you have some sort of list, or you can go through their mail. Essentially, a lot of people are going through their parents' mails and emails trying to figure out, hey, where are their bank accounts, where are their assets, just trying to clarify everything. Florida does an unclaimed property search, but that's going to be for Florida assets, and it's going to be updated only a certain amount of times per year. So you're waiting on that too. And then there are services almost like kind of hiring like a personal investigator, like in a movie where they're going out and they're trying to find all of your parents' assets. So realistically, and I hate to say it, but every single one of these questions is, I actually don't know how long it takes, because it's been quick, it's been medium, and it's been years for people to find things. So it's, I think, based on luck, how quickly you can find all the assets.
So when I do some meetings and I get in front of these high net worth individuals, I'll always ask them, when I'm trying to explain the problems with probate, why they want to set up an estate plan using a trust, retitle everything in the name of the trust at a time. I say that the first part is what we just talked about, the time frame, just to do the filing, get the claims. The second part that takes a long time is getting an inventory of all the assets. And a lot of times I'll ask the people right in the audience, how many people know everything that you own? And I will say 80% of the time, the people will say not, especially the people that are worth more money, 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, they'll say not even my spouse. So imagine that the matriarch will say that the spouse doesn't even know where their assets are. So now they're both gone, and the kids got to step in, usually from a different state, and they got to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So I tell people it could take minimum a year or longer on the more complicated states where you got a lot of K1s, limited partnerships, different interests in real estate or businesses, where it's not just cut and dry like having a brokerage account or a bank account, where they actually have different businesses with different assets in these businesses. I mean, it could really drag on a long time. What about when people are over the threshold, the $30 million? Can you explain the benefit when you have a trust, splitting the estate up into the marital trust and the family trust? And if you don't do that, and everything goes to the surviving spouse, even though it's portable, the pitfalls you can have by not funding the trust the proper way, or, leaving everything to the surviving spouse that doesn't know where everything is. And then they got to get the credit on both estates and get everything organized. They don't even know what to put into the family trust. And what is the time frame that you have to fund a family trust if you didn't fund it ahead of time with that portability law? Because that's not that too many people know about that, but I always think that's not going to happen anyways. But I'm just curious what the time frame is to do that.
The time frame, I don't know if there's an exact limit. I mean, we're trying to move as quickly as possible. When you're in a trust administration, you can move things a lot quicker. However, if anything does fall into probate or it's not funded correctly, you can't put things into that secondary trust until you've gone through that process as well. So once again, it's how much did you prepare on the front end? How quickly can we move things because you've prepared for them? And then are there outlying assets that are going to get pushed through probate still, even if you have a trust? So I hate to keep saying it, but the timeline is, you're supposed to move and follow the state's timelines and move things at a certain speed. But the reality is it's going to move as quickly as possible. Like in Florida, you're supposed to file an original will in the court system in 10 days. Who finds a will and then drives to the courthouse in 10 days or brings it to my office in 10 days? So there are all sorts of guidelines. You're supposed to follow them. But probate's also set up, and that whole process is set up for, well, we never know what's going to happen. The other day, we're still dealing with it now. We had a client who passed away, and there was a spelling error on the LLC that the house was owned by. So now we're going through the process of serving the state that the LLC was registered in. And they've been doing that for 2.5 years. They know where the asset is. They know what it was, but we can't prove that it was owned by something if they spelled the LLC wrong and it went unnoticed for 15 years. So when you're
Wow.
trying to move assets like that into a trust, it's almost how can we get those high, you know, assets that are going to put on a lot of capital gains, assets that are going to appreciate greatly. We need to collect those first. And if that's your business and we can't go get it, then we're kind of held up and stuck.
Yeah. So again, the whole process of avoiding all that is setting up a trust, a living legal document that
Mm-hmm.
holds title to their assets, and you're doing all that transfer while they're alive instead of trying to put all these pieces of the puzzle together after they're gone. Correct?
Yeah. In that situation that I just said, if they would have transferred even a misspelled LLC to the trust, it would have been a heck of a lot easier to get it than trying to prove to the probate court that that was their business. So it does make that margin for error a lot greater. It's going to allow you to kind of follow your own rules and pull things. So funding it is going to be the major thing. Getting those things pre-put into that trust, titled the correct way, or having the correct beneficiaries on there is going to make that almost instantaneous versus a free-for-all.
So when with your program, could you just explain today we're on the financial planning world with AI. There's programs out there that will do trust through you fill out an input form and it will spit out a trust in a week. They say it's all written by attorneys, and then there's the other side of the spectrum where someone can be paying $10,000 by having an attorney hold their hand, give them a consult. You're kind of hybrid. Can you talk about that a little bit so people understand what differentiates you from some of the other or both sides of that spectrum?
Yeah, so I like the best of everything. I want to take the best of that experience sitting in an attorney's office and sitting face to face, talking with us, that real human connection. And then I wanted to use the best of technology. So we did a hybrid of what can we replace with technology, still having the highest touch a client feel. And that's, replacing that question asker. We don't need a paralegal on the phone writing down everybody's name. So we have clients doing a digital intake that walks them through. I have a lot of clients tell me they really appreciate it, or even when they're working with their advisor, that they can read things, they can research things as they're filling out that form rather than being in the office and kind of pressures on. So it allows them to make some really good informed decisions. We've got all the information in there. And then, of course, we mandate that every single one of our trust clients comes through and does a Zoom meeting with the attorney. So they're going to sit there, they're going to walk through all the choices they made. They're going to customize anything because I don't want things to be so technologically advanced that you can't make your own decisions. There's A, B, C, and then D, make up whatever you want. We want them to be able to have a full trust plan that would be the exact same as if they custom drafted it sitting again in that office. But we're going to do that, use the technology to make it more cost effective, to make it quicker, have the parts that need to be in human, to be those talking through it with the attorney in Zoom, close to as inhuman as we
So
can
you
get.
do talk to the clients, obviously, right? I mean, that's the hybrid part.
Yeah, so we never deliver documents. We wait to talk to the clients until we're full drafting. We've just replaced kind of, the calendar paralegal kind of role of the law office that makes things really expensive. We replaced that with technology. And then you still have your attorney that's going to walk you through everything, but not just walk you through it, customize everything and walk through those decisions with you so that you know exactly what you're doing. And again, your trust is going to be exactly what you want, not some cookie cutter, multiple choice kind of document.
Now, when we get a special price point at Simplicity UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And the expectation, just to make it clear for the people out there, is they got to do some of that homework too. Like they got to ask the questions of who the clients want their assets to go to, who they want to be their successor trustees, and what percentages the beneficiaries get what and when, and just the basic questions. Or to help the client fill out that intake form so they could have it in there to send it to you. What other expectations do you want the advisor to do besides, trustees, beneficiaries, distributions? Is there anything else that we should tell them now to manage expectations?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the attorney or the advisor's job is kind of to have that frame of mind and that framing with the client that, hey, we're going to have a hybrid system. We're going to go through this intake together, which the intake does have a definition of all of the words. So it defines trustee, it defines successor trustee, it even defines, what the percentage allocations are. So it really gives you, the advisors, a really big crutch to lean on. You can read those to the client, with the client, for the client, however you need to do it. But then you just need to let them know, hey, we're going to fill this out together. We're skipping that first step. And then you're going to get to the client attorney meeting. The advisors are more than welcome to be on there, obviously up to the client, but it's just getting them to that first point of, and it's a little bit different. They're used to going into an attorney's office, sitting there for a long time, the attorney sitting with them and going through each piece, where we're going to put that on the front end of fill out this questionnaire. If you don't know something, put you don't know. If there's a bunch of questions, there's a free type section. We just want to get all the information because that's going to save the time. And then we get to the attorney meeting where the attorney does what the attorney needs to do. And as long as the advisor kind of explains that part to the client, that, hey, this is not going to be your typical, you walk into an attorney's office and spend your whole day there and you can't go back to work because it's going to be 6 hours in this office, versus, we're going to do this online. It is going to be a Zoom. It is going to be highly digital, but you're still going to get that personal touch.
So what I find with a lot of these successful business owners, they spend 30 years building their business, building their estates, and getting to this higher net worth position in their lives, and they won't spend 6-7 hours, or they procrastinate spending 6-7 hours to tighten everything up and make sure that they can protect maybe 30% of their estate, depending how big it gets. So what I also would tell people out there, if you're not really up on the estate planning, if you get a higher net worth client, you call us up at our office at UFC, either myself, I have, 2 other seniors, people in the industry, CFP, CLUs, that have been doing this for a long time. I probably have done about 1,000 of these presentations over the last 35 years. We'll help you, before we get Ciara involved. And when you're doing this kind of service for these clients, it's huge because they've been knowing they have to do it every single time. When I talk to somebody, I ask them, have you done an estate plan? Well, I've been meaning to. I haven't done it yet. I know I have to. Or we started something, but we know that was 10 years ago, probably needs to be updated. And that's the response you're going to get. So when you're helping these customers put their estate plan together, not only are you really helping them because you're going to save all that time, potentially reduce their estate taxes because you're getting 2 trusts with the $15 million credit, but then there's also some advanced strategies that we can talk about. How we set up the irrevocable trust and we fund it with bank financing, and then we leverage that with insurance products, or we do some installment sales and we're discounting their estate, or grats and gruts. So we have a lot of knowledge that we can help you guys. If you're not prepared to have those conversations, we could do it together before we bring Ciara in. The big advantage that we have with Ciara is that she's knowledgeable. She's got a fine-tuned system to gather the data, review it, and then have an hour or whatever it takes consultation with the customers to make sure they understand the documents before they execute them. And by having that part of the link taken care of, or where you have control of it, or that part of the process where you have the attorney on your side, that's a huge benefit, to working with us and us all working together. Because I've had cases where the attorney, once he's introduced to the customer, or maybe the customer already has their attorney, he may have another friend that's in the financial services business, and he's maybe pushing the business to his buddy, or they're not communicating with you and letting you know what's on the customer's mind and how you may be a benefit to them with some other services. So again, I think having someone like a Ciara, and I'll call her a partner, to help take care of the client's needs is a huge benefit. Ciara, what other questions do you think advisors, need to ask in the whole planning opportunity? Just to get in the door to start the conversation. Anything you can suggest other than what I've already said?
Not necessarily. I would, like to just go on and expand on how important it is to go through the estate planning process. how it's important for the client, but I also think it's important for the entire planning process and for the advisor. You're not showing up and asking them to give you a full list of their assets. You're going through and asking what's important. So you're talking about their family, you're talking about the things that they've built, you're talking about their coin collections or whatever it might be that they're leaving to their family. And then at the same time, you're also talking about where's your insurance? Where are your assets? And it makes this part of gathering things and creating a plan so much more personal and so much more, the client willing to disclose these things and to have this conversation, because it's not a fact gathering mission anymore. It's, hey, let's actually talk about what's going to happen to all of this stuff you've accumulated throughout all of your life, whether it's sentimental or it's your brokerage account. Those are both important because you work to have both of them, and they're both going to be things that, whether it makes your family happy because you handed them something, an awesome collection or an awesome art piece, or you helped their kid go to, you helped your grandkid go to college, you helped your kid buy their first house. Those kind of things are huge, and you're now talking about them in a way that means something to the client rather than, hey, let's move your assets over here because it'll give you a bigger return. And I think that
Yeah.
it's just a frame and a plan that makes sense, and it just makes the client realize that, hey, I'm doing all of this for something. I'm not just getting insurance, or I'm not just redoing my financial plan because someone said it was a good idea and I might make some more money, or, it becomes to them, hey, I'm going to leave this to my kid. I'm going to make this amazing gift that is what I'm already doing, but I'm going to be able to leave this to my kids and take care of my family, which I would be doing if I was here as well. And so it's a really big change in the way that you're going to approach the clients. You now have offered them something that they absolutely needed, and without sending them off to an attorney who, is going to send them to their financial accounting friend that they golf with. I don't golf, but I still have other friends.
That's huge. And I call it the connectivity, that you're getting personal with the customer, and you're showing empathy because you're asking questions about things that are really important to them. And you're right, it's not about the blue fund being better than the red fund, or that my investment has less risk than your current portfolio, or whatever the other approach would have been, more product related. It's more needs based and more want based. Along that, I just want to share a story that I had. There was an estate. It was larger estate, so they had an estate problem, and they had about $2 million in their IRA account, and they had 6 grandchildren, and we showed them their IRA minus the 40% income tax, or 39, whatever it is, 39% income tax, or 30, this was 39, then now it's 36 and a half, but 36% income tax on their IRA. And they were in a state where they had a state income tax, Washington State. So there's another state income tax on top of that. So we showed them that $2 million IRA would grow to, let's just say, $4 million, but their family was going to lose like 70% of it between the income tax and the federal state tax. So they're only going to get out of 4 million, maybe $1.2 million. We took the 2 million, put it in an irrevocable trust. There was going to be taxes on it. We did it over 5 years. And bottom line was that 2 million bought a tax-free death benefit guaranteed by Prudential for $6 million. So it was, you can give them whatever the number was, 1.2, 1.5. I'm just ad-libbing the numbers, versus 6 million. But what really got them excited is we set up multiple trusts from this life insurance trust for 6 grandchildren each. $1 million was going to go into each trust for the benefit of the grandkids, but they never get the money in a lump sum. The trust written on their birthday, they were going to get $50,000 from grandma and grandpa for the rest of their lives. So that emotional connection, that the grandparents can do this special gift for their kids on their birthdays, and we all did it protected with the trust planning, really got them excited. And I remember when we were making the presentation, the grandmother was leaning in and she says, "We're doing this. I want to make sure they get that birthday present every year when we're long gone." And that was a nice opportunity for the advisor, to get the, to set that whole plan up. And it was really fulfilling. So again, doing what's important to the customers and connecting with them is the main reason why you want to do all this. And at the end of the day, we're not product people. We're solution solvers, and you can discover or uncover the problems when you're asking all these questions and finding out who the clients want the money to go to, what's important to them about their money, and how they want their beneficiaries to receive it. So all that ties in with the planning. As Ciara said earlier, it starts in the beginning and it finishes at the end with all this planning. So this is what the glue that puts it all together. So I'm so excited to have Ciara on our team as a partner working with us. We do get some special pricing. I don't know if we want to mention the pricing now, but if you call up, we'll give it to you. But it's a pretty good discount, because I promise Ciara that we're going to refer her with all the people out there and all the people that we work with, at least 100 of these plans every month. So like anything, you get a volume discount, and we'll get to pass that right to you guys. Anything on your end, Ciara, to wrap it up? Or
No, I think it was well said. Again, just like you said, it's not about the product. There's always going to be someone who says some plan is better. But when you sit there and you're that advisor and you're that person that helped them plan for their family, why they actually go to work in the morning, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, so it's the empathy. And then reciprocity. When you're doing all this planning for them and you're taking the time to really hold their hand and walk them through it on our end, on your end, on Ciara's end, the clients feel a connection to you now, because you helped them solve a huge problem that was always on the back of their mind, and they knew they had to do this. And by the way, our total package does not just include the trust. It includes a trust, a power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, and pour-over will, and a deed to one of their properties. So again, call in to one of our ADCs to find out what that packaging looks like. And we just welcome the opportunity to help you guys, help your clients, and that's what motivates us on a daily basis. So again, we want to thank everybody for signing on. Ciara, I want to thank you for coming on today. Always a pleasure, and we really appreciate our partnership. So thank you very much.
All right, Vince, before Ciara goes, Ciara, would you like to share some contact information if people want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can obviously reach out through Simplicity. They have all of our information over at Simplicity UFC. We have an advisor portal that actually is a hub for all of the links and white pages and information that any of the advisors might need. And they can get that from our actual website by requesting it there at gulfcoastlawpa.com.
Excellent. Vince, your contact info.
My contact info is vincent.munno@simplicitygroup.com. And you could always call our office, which is 727-669-0109. We have 10 advisor consultant representatives here. They call them ADCs, advisor development consultants. I call them wholesalers because I'm from the old school, but they're here to help you and navigate how we can be a service, and again, help you get onto the website to get the discounts, through our services with Ciara.
They've all been through it a bunch of times, so they are a great resource for any sort of getting to the trust system intakes and going through that process. So they're a huge asset for anybody reaching out to Simplicity.
All right. Awesome. Ciara, Vince, thank you so much. And most importantly, thank you for listening to the Premium Life podcast with the team from Simplicity UFC. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. This way, when the team comes out with a new podcast, it will show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, because this actually helps others find the show. Again, thank you for listening. And for everyone at Simplicity UFC, I'm RJ Malik, and we hope you'll join us for the next Premium Life podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Premium Life podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode packed with strategies and stories designed to help you grow your practice and create lasting impact. To learn more and connect with Vince, visit simplicityufc.com. Remember, relationships and integrity are the foundation of everything. Protect what you've built, think bigger, and keep creating your premium life.
The information and views presented by the speaker are his own and are believed to be reliable. However, neither Simplicity UFC or their representatives are responsible for the accuracy of the materials being presented by the speaker. Simplicity UFC and its representatives do not provide legal or tax advice. Financial strategies should be reviewed with a qualified attorney or CPA. Guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. This hypothetical example is shown for illustrative purposes only and is not guaranteed. 585-89693 06 and 206.